So there's this thing called welfare reform, which sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? I mean, we spend an enormous amount of money on this thing called the welfare state, so reforming it, making it better, must be a good idea. And I run an organisation called the Centre for Welfare Reform, so I must believe in welfare reform. So what's gone wrong with welfare reform? Well, at the moment, welfare reform has actually become limited to a very small number of things, which, when you stand back and look at what they are, look like really attacks on the rights of disabled people and attacks on the rights and incomes of people who are poor. It's very hard to see what the reform is in a lot of these so-called reforms. What we're seeing at the moment for disabled people is that people, to get a tiny income to live on, now need to go through a painful, stigmatising assessment process. The government's privatised assessment, which is a bit amazing given that we have doctors and nurses that we pay for through the NHS, but it privatised all that, and people now go through this process called the Work Capability Assessment, where the government decides whether people who are sick and disabled are able to work or not, as if the government is always very expert at that kind of assessment, and it uses vast bureaucracy to do that. The government has decided that welfare spending is a huge problem and is trying to put a big cut on benefits and cap benefits. But it's funny, when you actually look at the figures and look at what people with benefits pay in taxes, which, if you think about it, is it's benefits minus the taxes. That's the key statistic. It's how much difference do we make in people's overall income by giving them a benefit and then taking away taxes. Well, when you do that calculation, the figure that turns out to be about 25 billion, which is actually tiny. 25 billion is about 2% of the whole of the economy. But we're obsessed by getting that down from 2% to, 1.8%, as if that's going to make a big significant difference to make the world fairer. It isn't. So we've got an idea of welfare reform, which is a great idea, but it's not a reform. It's making things worse and worse.